other organizations. And I think that's the way to do it. Jointly do an activity which will involve your community, the government representatives, and of course the international organization as well as funders. I think the problem, another challenge that we face is really the fragmentation of governments or even multilateral organizations. If we are able to get a community to lead and talk to the multilateral organizations and governments, then the problems of fragmentation and the very sectoralized approach is also going to be addressed. Thank you.
Great. Vicki, thank you so much. Thanks for staying on. I know you have to put on your running shoes to get to the next session, so thank you again, and maybe we can give her a round of applause, please. And our next presentation will be from Terence Aidi, who is a program advisor for biodiversity for the GEF Small Grants Program, implemented by the UNDP. And Terence is a cultural anthropologist by training. He's worked in countries of Africa, the Himalayas, and many other regions. And we've had the privilege of working together these past several years on work related to engaging local communities in world heritage. And he runs a very impressive program on that. But in the meantime, is also very active in some exciting projects related to community-based adaptation to climate change and resilience. And today he's going to be discussing the role of global networks in agrobiodiversity. Hey, John.
Good afternoon, everybody. So, as Jessica mentioned, Pablo, when we were preparing this workshop, gave me the challenging task of addressing the topic of global networks and agrobiodiversity. So, I will quickly zip through as many slides as I can for the case studies. Starting by, as Jessica mentioned, the SGP was launched at the UOS Summit 20 years ago as a pilot program to engage civil society organizations, NGOs, indigenous peoples, communities to look at the big problems of biodiversity loss. And the criteria for work on biodiversity was that the project should really focus on in situ conservation. There are other mechanisms for ex situ conservation, but what sort of partnerships were required to do that? Very briefly, the program has grown from a small pilot program to a program covering 125 countries now, 14,500 projects. That's a sort of quick snapshot of where the majority of them have been, a lot in Latin America, but spreading across the world in the Pacific and further beyond. We just launched a report at Rio +20 on some of the experiences. But what's been very interesting is that it's a demand-driven program, and the demands that has come from civil society in 20 years on has really connected this topic of food sovereignty, food security, and agrobiodiversity in a way that no one has really predicted. Approximately 50% of all of the projects we've funded have been on this interface that Pablo was describing. As a delivery mechanism for funding, we have this huge number of projects which often we don't quite know what's the full richness of what's going in the field. So in CBD COP8 in Brazil, in Curitiba, the country program there launched a catalogue, the first of its kind, to document many of the projects and different local products that the program has been able to support. It was called Save the Cerrado, often because the Cerrado is considered a sort of not very productive biome in Brazil, even though it's a very important savanna ecosystem. And that gave us the idea, well, why don't we do a cataloging process at the world level? So we embarked on an exercise for the whole of Latin America and asked all of the SGP countries to give us some of their most interesting examples. And this resulted in a publication in May 2010, which we took to the GEF Assembly. And that, looking at a cross-section of products from agricultural, food products, cosmetic-related, handicrafts, and many others. I think we were just describing the importance of different food products at the local level. There you see a picture of one of our projects in the Andes with beans, of course, playing this very central role in kitchens and recycling nutrients and culturally critical keystone species in some ways. And the idea with this publication was really to instill a sense of pride in many of these projects and what they've been able to achieve, and to profile these products with high quality images. So we sent out a lot of guidance in terms of how to get really nice photographs so that we can include them in this catalog. And this is just a few examples of what we were discovering, the communities that submitted. These are the butterfly project in Costa Rica. I think this is linked to this idea of very diverse, resilient, community-based systems which rely on multiple ways of withstanding shocks and these sorts of things. So one of the categories of products that we've seen all over the world being honey-related projects, and this is really one of the best sorts of examples, because these projects address livelihoods, they address pollination, they address income, and we've seen these projects all across the world, from Kazakhstan, where in winter all sorts of innovations are there to keep the bees warm, through to tropical rainforest and everywhere. We're trying to focus in a lot on the honey project. Then phase 2 of this was we then went to Africa and the Arab states and asked them to start doing a catalogue of their projects, and I don't have time to do justice to the richness of all of the projects which have come out, but just to mention a couple there, I was just reading a report from Mauritius recently of the Rodrigan fowl. This is a project with a local variety of chicken in a remote outline of Mauritius, which is now applying for the geographical indication to protect its local variety of fowl, which is sought after on the mainland, and something similar in Lesotho with a Basotho chicken. And so we're trying to develop these case studies through this catalog. And then you see a few other examples of silk and sea salt. And I just mentioned the one from Syria, which is very interesting. We have a project there on the Damascus rose, which I think produces a scent or a perfume, which is very important culturally, even despite all the problems you see with that project is going on. So phase 3 of this project is now to try and establish a global network online through an online platform. We're working with a network called Progressive Network in Holland that have traditionally focused mainly on commodities like coffee and tea, linking producer organizations. So with that, we're trying to see if they could take an interest in maybe some products like honey, which are not really commoditized but are actually globally traded in some instances, and connect some of the producer organizations. We hope for COP11 to have that ready. So quickly moving on, just one or two vignettes of some individual cases. This was a rainforest honey project in Belize that had SGP funding and is now being traded through the fair trade market in North America with a fair trade receipt, which you can see the story of what happened with that whole community through the, I think it's a scannable location for it. This is another honey project which I think it is a CNN type of story. It's a honey producer who in Palestine, they don't have enough ecosystem for the bees, so they cross over the border and go into Israel and pollinate the trees there and then come back into so honey beyond borders, it's a good slogan. And we also have, as Jessica mentioned, a big focus on protected areas. I think the interesting thing there is that World Heritage Sites and biospheres, you have a lot of visitors coming there, so there'll be opportunities for local people to market their products. And these are some cases of local products from Mount Kenya World Heritage Site and Biosphere Reserve. And here's another one from Sri Lanka. This was a yam protection project which received the Equator Prize. And these are some examples of local newspaper articles of the pride of having international recognition for this particular project. And we have other yam projects elsewhere in Micronesia and other places amongst those 7,000 projects. So quickly, I'll just wrap up with a question. When we did the Catalog of Latin America, we had an editor by Michel Lambert, who's sitting over there, asking some difficult questions about why are we doing this catalog and promoting the products. And we weren't saying these have to be globally traded. That wasn't the objective. It was to try and increase some interest and pride in the project. In some cases, these products might end up going internationally, but local markets and barter are clearly acceptable forms of exchange and so on. We should always remember that. We also have a partnership launched after the Nagoya COP10 with the Government Plan Satayama initiative, and we're trying to field trial the socio-economic resilience indicators that Pablo has developed in the past through pilot projects in 10 countries, and I don't have time to go into a lot of detail on that, but we're trying to do it in such a way that we're looking at resilient landscapes with multiple projects that are grouped together. So, I think I have 2 more slides. We work with biodiversity. I think that was in the earlier session, but we work with them on traditional knowledge journals, and what I'm saying is we've got lots of the networks and how we can connect different networks together. And maybe just a reflection here at the IUCN World Conservation Congress, which networks are not here? We don't have Via Campesina. We don't really, we were asking, is slow food, are they going to send somebody here? Well, doesn't anybody in the room for slow food? Maybe you're interested, but they're not here. So it's somehow we're interested in this interface, but they're not necessarily here right now. They have their own meetings, and there are a couple of examples there of, I think, an interface that we need somehow for IUCN to reach out and connect with them. I'll just finish by saying that the SGP has a focus on agrobiodiversity, and any organizations here that are working on it, then please come and talk to me about partnerships and ways we could assist with projects in the countries where you're working. The connection between what Pablo was about in terms of indigenous communities in certain areas and agrobiodiversity, I think, is a very critical one, and that's really the theme that the core focus of our program for a long time, and I will stop there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Terence. That was great. I would like to invite next Alejandro Argumedo of Peru. Alejandro is the founder of a Quechua NGO called Asociación Andes, and he has led a group of Quechua communities in the southern Peruvian Andes in creating quite an amazing thing, El Parque de la Paja, or the Potato Park, the center of agrobiodiversity, which you'll be telling us about. He is also has been the head and founder of the Indigenous Peoples Biodiversity Network, and is currently serving as coordinator of the Indigenous Peoples Biocultural Climate Change Assessment Initiative. And in his spare time, he is trying to move forward on an effort to get this landscape we've heard about on the tentative list for World Heritage. So wish him luck with that. Thank you, Alejandro.
Thank you very much. Yes, good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for this workshop, for inviting me to present this experience of Potato Park. It's a cultural landscape approach to conservation and development, if you may. For us, basically is how we use indigenous territorialities, which is the embodiment of our food and agricultural systems, our knowledge, our livelihoods, ritual, the economic exchange that we have, gives us a sense of place, identity, celebration, art, philosophy. Everything of that is those of what we call in Quechua the IU system. In this experience also, I want to present as a reflection of how these traditional systems can be the foundation of contemporary expressions of sovereignty. And as it encapsulates this unique relationship between the cultural and spiritual values, the conservation aspects, and the well-being or livelihood of our peoples. And in all this, the resilience of our communities, which is based on our governance systems, is the key of what we're doing. And this is not the only experience, it's a multiplicity of experiences taking place around the world and that are contributing to transforming agriculture and transforming conservation, which is the topic of this workshop. Well, this a little bit of pictures of the Theo Park. It's located in South Peru, an initiative that we started with colleagues Sarai Lee and Michel Humbert, also in the very beginning in collaboration with Pablo, so it's also the inspiration of the communities with the support of many friends in the development conservation academic world. It's a communal land ownership that spans more or less 10,000 hectares. It has a governance system which is elected by 6 communities that make up the park. It has developed a multiplicity of small community local enterprise based on agrobiodiversity, and we're presenting about that. And particularly has focused on conserving a unique gene pool of biodiversity. We have close to 1,500 varieties. As well as plus 8 wild relatives. So this has made our experience in a community managed gene reserve. So this conservation takes place through the practice of organic or traditional agriculture, and the benefits that are generated are being regulated through customary laws and institutions. Our main focus and the community focus has always been food sovereignty, how we maintain the control of what we produce, what we eat. And here I think there's a need to underline the fact that while the language and concept of food sovereignty has only recently been introduced, for Quechua people it's a living practice. It's not a concept, it's a living reality. And the main components of this food, indigenous food sovereignty are related to our self-determination. It's related to the sacredness of the seeds and how people do agriculture in a ritualistic way. It's related to principles of participation with reciprocity plays a key role in terms of bringing community together. It's related to the communal system that where the land is conceived as a holistic entity, and it's not just humans, but also the wild and the spiritual beings that populate. Over the last 10 years or so, we have used this Agro approach, which is pre-Hispanic, to establish this conservation area. And so in doing this, as I mentioned, we have managed to establish it is a gene community managed gene agricultural gene reserve, where we have this large number of cultivars of native potatoes. Some of those were repatriated from the International Potato Center through an agreement that was signed in 2004, by which more than 400 varieties of potato that were stored in the gene bank of the International Potato Center in Lima were repatriated. Also, we harbor in trust a collection of potatoes that all the communities from the Andes have brought into the potato park so that it can be kept in there, as well as collections from universities and other research institutions. We have also managed to develop very active and dynamic micro-enterprises. These micro-enterprises used landscape goods and services as well as potatoes to develop different types of products, from shampoos to soaps to there's a restaurant that specializes in potatoes, to a agro-ecotourism that focuses on